All right, everybody, welcome back to the White Lotus. It's time to check out. We've reached the end. We're here to talk about the finale, season 3, episode 8, and the title is Amor Fati. Want to try to make sure I got that right. Love of fate or love of one's fate. My name is Axel, of course. We've got two amazing women here to discuss the episode with me. But first, I want to remind you all to go to dvrpodcast.com, check out all our pods. And if you've been listening to us for the whole season, now is the time for you to subscribe to Daily DVR, look it up on Apple Podcasts, or hey, on YouTube, you can subscribe and like and comment on our YouTube videos. But after this feed kind of goes dark, and then everything else we do is always on Daily DVR, and we create new feeds for the new shows and other shows that we cover. But if you want to have everything and be able to keep listening to us, go to Daily DVR and subscribe, dvrpodcast.com. Become a patron at patreon.com/DVR. And I did want to say thank you to everyone who has listened, subscribed, commented. It's been a great journey, and the best part has been getting people's reactions to our reactions and reactions to the show. And now we have here today, I'll do a hyphenated transition. First, we'll say hello to Jenny. Hello, Jenny.
Hey, Axel.
How
Happy
are
to
you
be
doing?
here as usual.
Yes, we're very happy to have you. And if everyone remembers, Gina's not here with us today. We're very sad. We wish her well. Hope she's having a great vacay. But at the end of the episode last week, I was like, hey, the way that Gina, Jenny, Andy, Brett, a lot of people kind of started podcasting with us is because I just said on a podcast, who wants to podcast? If you're a listener, come on. And I got a bunch of emails and I did some Zoom calls and I chatted it up with a bunch of different people. And one of those people is with us today. Her name is Anne. She is a YouTuber. She has an awesome channel where she talks about design and architecture and really cool stuff. I'm going to let her introduce herself and welcome, Anne. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, I heard your kind of call to action and I got on my phone and typed up a real quick email saying who I was. I think I gave you some wrong predictions about the finale. Yeah, and then we connected. I'm an interior architect and designer. And last year I had the idea to do a YouTube channel talking about the design from movies. I actually got the idea partly because the Beetlejuice sequel was coming out. And that's ultimately kind of an interior design fight, which I don't think a lot of people talk about. Basically, Barbara didn't like what Delia did to her house. So
Yeah,
it's just
that's
really
true.
funny. Um, so yeah, and it's been really fun to do. So I tell you how you can recreate the style, and I kind of talk about the decisions they make. And my main job, I do hotel design. So the last video I did actually was White Lotus season 2 to recreate that, Italian modern aesthetic for your space. So it's been
Nice.
fun, and
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here today.
Awesome. And of course, in the show notes, there'll be a link to
Yes,
Anne's channel. Go over,
check it out.
subscribe. Yeah, it's really awesome.
It's fun.
And we're glad to have you here. We're going to be chatting this finale up. Holy cow. Oh, Andy told me, comment on this video. Andy said
Yes,
it.
we would love to hear your comments, see what you
Yeah.
think about this episode, see what you think about what we said about this episode. Tell us where we're
Right.
wrong, tell us where we got it right.
Yeah. And it helps
Anything.
the algorithm. That's the other thing. That's really why. Andy doesn't care what you
Yeah, but
say.
we'd like
He
to
just
hear
wants
your
to help the
comments
algorithm.
too.
Okay, I guess we'll look at them. I mean, why not? But what an awesome episode for me. This was kind of divisive. Um, Actually, so much so that Mike White, who usually doesn't say much about what he creates, he really likes to kind of have the audience interpret it. And I think he likes it that way too, because he gets to fuck with more people's minds by not explaining what he did. But he went on the official podcast, which we'll talk a little bit about. I just listened to it. It was great. He did some other interviews to kind of talk to people because it was divisive. A lot of people felt it was predictable. A lot of people felt, the action didn't happen till the end, blah, blah, blah. We, of course, loved it. Jenny, what were your initial reactions when the episode was over? What was going through your head? How are you feeling?
Okay, there's two things I want to talk about quickly, and we can talk about them more later. But when I first watched it, I was just so sad about Chelsea and Rick. That was my feeling at the end of it. I
Yeah.
was really sad about the two of them. But in my second watch, I was paying more attention to Lachlan's little episode after he drank the protein powder shake from the dirty blender. Um, when he was passing out or whatever, the image that was being shown was like he was in water, and he was looking up, and there was like a round, like he was in a well or something, it was
Right.
like a round circle, and there were four people looking down, and they looked like they were the
Monks.
Buddhist monks.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it brought to mind when Tim had asked LPT if or what happens when you die. And he talked about the water and how when you're born it raises up, and then when you die it drops back
Yeah.
down. And then when Lachlan came back to the way that the scenes were cut, when he came back awake was as they Chelsea died. And it was almost like
Oh,
it was like, like the cycle of the water and I don't know. I
yeah.
don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it was
No.
really interesting to me because of the whole thing with the drop of water and everything, and then seeing the Buddhist monks looking down at him, and he was in the water, and it was like then he came back up and he was reborn, and it was
Yeah.
like as Chelsea died. And that was why it was really especially odd to me, because of the timing of it. So anyway, those were the two things that I dwelled upon after I watched it this first and second time. What did you think about it, Anne? Did you have any major things that stuck out to you?
I mean, my first thoughts were that it was predictable. So I said this to Axel previously. So if it's predictable to me, then it's about more than just, who ends up dying in the end. So I think that's what I've been reflecting on more. Like, and a lot of it ties back to identity being a prison, right? That was
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
initial premise of the show. And so who kind of like stuck to their identity and lost, and who maybe tried on a new identity and won, I think is what I've been reflecting on. And also just the part that I personally maybe resonated the most was Laurie's speech. I think has stuck out to me as being something kind of to take with you,
Mm-hmm.
while the rest might have just been too messy to even know like where to land with some of it. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm still processing, which I think is
Yeah.
part of the point.
That's
Right.
why we're here. We're here to process it and talk about
Yeah.
it. Those are two, yeah, the identity. I mean, I think you both hit upon so much of what, and in the official podcast, Mike White kind of was bringing that up exactly, that the whole purpose of this season was that your a quest for identity is what imprisons us in pain or suffering, which is kind of a tenet, like one of the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. And that part of the reincarnation of identity, perhaps not death, is something that I kind of ruminated on. So I'm going to take both of what you said and mix it together and say that that's exactly what I was thinking of too, which is, yes, there were predictable elements. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Rick shot him. That's what he said he was going to do, and he fucking killed him. I was shocked. I was like, my mouth was open for about 10 minutes afterwards. That to me, I could not believe that he did that. Just took his gun and plow, plow, plow. Like, I thought the way they shot that so fast, I think it made me realize why they had shown the multiple imaginary murders by Timmy of his family. Because I thought that what Rick did was not real. I was like waiting for it not to be real,
Oh.
but then it was real, you know? And that was sad to me. But then I was like, that's the human condition. We don't all change. We don't all grow. We end up in the same cycle and circle again and again. And look, and I think we were chatting when we initially chatted. And I was like, not only that, but like let's get into it. Chelsea died because she chose to stay with him. Her own inability to let go and let Rick be who he is and not try to change him, not try to influence him, is what directly led to his death. Do you see that, Anne, or am I blaming Chelsea too much?
You think that Chelsea led to Rick's death?
No, no, I think
No,
she
okay.
led to her
I know what you said, though, Axel.
Sorry,
No,
I misinterpreted.
no, that's not what I said. I said
Okay.
that she
Kinda.
led to her own death.
Oh.
Yes.
She led to her
Yeah.
own death.
You know, the funny thing, because right before it, she says, Amor Fati, we're linked. If something bad happens to you, it happens to me. And this was when he was
Oh,
happy because something good seemingly had just happened. She didn't say if
yeah.
something good happens to you, it happens to me. So I thought that was an interesting choice in that happy moment, right?
That is interesting. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this there, Jenny?
I don't think that it was Chelsea's fault that Rick died, but I when so two things again. One, I gotta say, Axel, I really don't think he knew that that was his father, like I said last week. And didn't you say you thought that he knew it was his father? I really don't think he knew that Jim was his father because when
I thought that
Sritala said it to him,
right, I
he
understand. Well,
looked
what I
fucking
said was,
shocked.
I felt at some level he knew it was his father.
Okay.
You know,
Mm-hmm. No, I
I
was
didn't.
asking. I don't
Yeah, I
remember
just think
who
at
said
some
what.
level he felt it was his dad.
Okay.
But
But I don't think he realized it because I think that he really thought okay, the other thing, here's my second thing. Amrita, if he had been able to talk to her, how would have things changed? How would have things gone differently? If he had been able to talk to her, if she hadn't been booked with Zion, if she had been able to talk to him, would he have been able to settle down enough? Because they were leaving in a couple of hours
that's a great.
anyway.
Yeah,
You know,
that's.
if he had been able to talk to her, because he wanted to, and he was waiting, he was sitting there
Mm,
waiting for her. And
yeah.
then he sees them all over there, and he sees the bodyguard over there. The one goes off to smoke, and then the other one walks away, and he sees his chance and he gets up, and that's when Chelsea shows up. And when he turns and looks at her, he didn't even look like Walton Goggins. I mean, his face was just, it was contorted because he just was feeling he did not want her to be there. He didn't want her to see him like this. He didn't want her to see him going down this path that he didn't even want to go down.
Yeah.
He was so happy to be free, and she tried to help, but he was spinning so hard he just couldn't. He was circling the drain, and yeah, he went down, and it was very sad. But I do wonder if he had the opportunity to speak with Amrita, if he would have, not, if things would have turned out very, very differently. That's
Mm.
what I think.
Yeah, and I hate to say it because he's so attractive, but I found Zion so unlikable
Oh, me,
this
same.
whole season. And especially in that moment, he barely wanted to go to this session. You see someone really struggling. I think I would have said, we can postpone. We don't even need to do this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, because certainly there could be blame placed on Amrita and it's commentary, mental health professionals. Are they available when you really need them? Of course. But also Zion could have backed out as well.
And
That's
I wasn't
interesting.
blaming her either. I was just because she was,
Yeah,
Oh, I
no, I
mean,
see.
yeah.
yeah, it was all bad
I think
timing.
but I think that's kind of what I loved about this season, especially, and what I love about this show and other Mike White. Like, if I hope people, if you love this season, if you're like, wow, this had a lot of deep stuff, go watch Enlightened on HBO. That's a fantastic show that deals with a lot of stuff that, gosh, we're dealing with America too, corporate culture and and environmental concerns and stuff like that. It's such a great show. What the fuck was I even talking about? I started drifting off thinking about
We were kind of
Enlightened.
talking about Rick
Commentary,
and
maybe.
all this
Oh,
stuff.
um, well, I don't even remember what else. I don't know. I think it's all there is what I think I was trying to say. You're right. Commentary on was she available? What's her? When you start When you start breaking it down like that, what everyone's responsibility is, because this show put itself in the context of this religious spiritual awakening of all these people, it does become a little pedantic and a little difficult to judge every single person for everything they're doing. And I think
Yeah.
that's part of the lesson too. You're right. I think that, like, when he's writing that, why have her come out there at all? Right? It was so you could have that option of, look, she like you said, Jenny, she might have convinced him not to do it, but she had something else and she made a choice which made this choice. I think kind of that's kind of what I liked about both the predictability and the unpredictability of it. But I don't know, I think in the end it was kind of clear that really nothing was going to stop Rick from doing this, right? Like, it didn't matter how much Chelsea loved him. It didn't matter if Amrita had told him, "Oh, you're wonderful," and he had left with a big smile. As soon as he saw Jimbo, that was his name, Jim, right? As soon
Mhm.
as he saw him, all of that shit would have come back up. So I think in the end, it's ultimately the personal responsibility of Rick. And that's why I say it's also the personal responsibility of poor Chelsea, who should have known what this, like, remember how she was kind of comparing with Zoe, like, "Oh, we're different, than you and Greg Gary, right? Like, we have a different, but are they really? Because actually, Greg Gary and Zoe might have a better understanding of each other than Chelsea and Rick did, right? Like, they really seem, so it might not be an understanding that we're into, the mom and dad sex thing, little weird, but they're into it. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's like just a lesson on your personal, you just have to make your choices and keep moving forward, which is kind of what the monk says in the beginning, right?
Mhm.
When he's talking about when we wake up in the morning, we're anxious, we
Mhm.
don't know what to do, but we have to do something, right?
Right.
Hmm.
And that
Looking for
something,
resolution.
yeah, resolution or forming our identity, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And hold on a second. Did you say you didn't like Zion? Why
I didn't
not?
really like him either. He's
It
very
was part
Really?
of
bro-y.
it was
So,
part of
Oh,
my suspension of disbelief that if your mother's being threatened, you're going to go to that house twice when you could have, even if he was, let's hear him out about the money, you could have done a phone call in a public place.
yeah,
Like,
mhm.
I found
And
a
he was
little
super
unbelievable.
cocky.
Yeah.
yeah, he was. But I
Yeah.
don't know why I kind of liked it because so many people on the show were seeking this inner spiritual peace, and he was like, "Fuck this, let's get 5 million." And
Yeah.
not that I'm not like that. I'm the one trying to seek inner peace and shit. But I kind of enjoyed that injection of personality and decisiveness in the show. And he was trying to help his mom. Like, he was really kind of like, I mean, there is an aspect there too that Mike White talked a little bit about. And of course, obviously, she is a, a Black American woman who we in the previous season, right, in season one, we saw how she was kind of looking to this older rich white lady for the money, then she doesn't get it. So one of the things that the actress and he had talked about is she said to him, "I want Belinda to be rich at the end of this season to finally get that money." But at what cost too, right? Because in
Right, because
you're
she treated Porn Shy just like Tanya treated her. It was
exactly.
like, because I had just finished rewatching season one, and when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my God, that's just like Tanya telling her," and it really was very, very, very similar. It was so
It
similar.
is, but it's also different though, right?
Yeah, it's a
It's
different
this,
situation,
but
but like,
yeah, it's worth
she's still
examining.
like, why couldn't she take him with her? She could have taken him with her. She chose not to. That was a choice. But I gotta say one more thing about Zion, because Gina asked
They
us to
only
say
had
this
sex
about
once. It was
Zion.
one night. That's a little fast, Jenny. It's a little fast.
Yeah, but she was considering starting a business with him in Thailand.
They
So
were
why
going to
can't
get
she
to the
consider
business.
taking him along with her? Anyway,
Yeah.
Gina wanted us to talk about that article she sent us where there was a scene
Oh,
cut
yeah.
that was Zion, Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, getting it on with our virgin Piper Ratliff.
Popper, what are you doing, Popper?
Because apparently she decided to get rid of that V card, and I don't know how it happened. And I was trying to like imagine what scene where it would have fit into the day that they had, and I mean, I guess it would have had to have been after breakfast. It's pretty much the only time it would have fit. Because not too long after that,
I'm trying to think.
because Rick left breakfast
No, it
to
could have
go
been the night
seek out
before.
Amrita.
It could have been the night before because she was already back.
Yeah, I think they had one night after she got back. Yeah.
So it could have been the night before.
Okay, well, I thought it was cut from this episode, so it would have had to have been that day because everything was that day.
I'm not sure. I listened to the podcast.
But it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that, Anne?
Oh yeah. Let's talk to Anne.
Of cutting it or having it at all?
Having it at all.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
And cutting it.
I mean, I wouldn't have minded seeing it, I suppose. But
right, he's nice looking.
Yeah, he's a good looking kid.
100%. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
No, but in the final episode, it would have felt a little funny, I think, with everything else going on. It's almost in the past seasons, there's been a tease like that more like in the airport of season 2 when Albie and Portia kind of like are like, oh, maybe we'll connect now. But that's when everything's kind of calmed down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they would have put that scene after all of the deaths happened.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it would have been too much.
That's exactly what he said. He just said, I was trying to go for something, and they never filmed it. He said, but I did write it. And he also said that it was like 10 minutes long because they have to meet, they have to, flirt, they have to get to the booty hitting or knocking, as we call it. And I kind of agree. I mean, I didn't need to see that, but it would have been kind of
it would have been something fun for Piper.
And also something different, right? For both of those characters.
Yes.
But then again, for me, I have to say, the shocking moment, we're talking about Piper, the shocking moment, most shocking moment for me was not only Rick shooting Jim, but was when Piper was at that table going, I need good food. I need air conditioning.
I was shocked.
I thought she was playing some kind of ruse on her mom because she could see that her dad was I didn't understand what was happening, but that's really how she felt.
Okay, so I have a question for Anne here because I know someone else that I know had known like the whole season that they didn't believe Piper was genuine. Like they thought that she was the worst of the family all season. So what did you think of Piper this season, Anne?
I just thought she was young, and I think she was self-identifying just as different from her family. So it was kind of like a false identity. Yeah. So when she broke down at breakfast, I was like, oh, okay. This kind of makes sense. Like she was kind of just trying to be so different, but at the end of the day, she wasn't, I suppose. Like this is so silly. I remember when I was like 18 or 20 and I was just looking to do something and I found that I could live in Greece on this house and like study dolphins for a year. And my parents were like, what? And it wasn't that like I was deeply invested in dolphins, but you're just looking for something at that age.
This is true.
Wait, you didn't do it?
Oh, I wish you would have.
I know, right? Now I'm like, why didn't I do that?
It's a lucky thing. Oh, go ahead.
Maybe because of my personal story, that was kind of like, you just wanted something different from your family at that time.
I think that's a great interpretation. And I'm just glad that my wife didn't find out about that, or else I may have never met her. Because I think she would have definitely went and studied dolphins. She always wanted to be a marine biologist.
I mean, I think the monastery would have been, it seemed pretty safe. I was surprised when she said to Lachlan, let me fuck up my life. Like, I don't want you to fuck up your life. I'm like,
yes.
Fuck up your life spending a year at this monastery? I don't think so.
That is what.
That was weird.
It just goes to show you how even when you're doing a podcast on a show, you can be very wrong. And
Oh,
I guess because I, at her age, probably would have went and stayed and loved that monastery. Like when they went, my impression was actually like, wow, this is way nicer than I thought it was going to be. They have their
they
own
have their own
room.
rooms.
Yeah, it's like,
Hmm.
what the hell? At least there's some freaking fans up in the ceiling. I didn't
Hmm.
think it was that bad. Like, are you kidding me? I thought that they were going to make you camp out and basically sleep outside, that you weren't even going to have a home or anything, you know?
Yeah, I don't think
So,
there was like false advertising of what
yes,
the experience would be.
and the fact that, what's her name, Victoria, she was right. She was totally right. She
She
knew
was.
her daughter better than we
Hmm.
knew her daughter.
Oh, the looks on her face.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's something I don't want to, the whole podcast, me be saying what Mike White said on the thing, but I guess I can. It is the final podcast, and he wrote and directed the episode and every episode, which is he said that he saw the Ratliffs as a cult created by the mother and father, and that the children are basically cult members, and that the whole time all any of these kids is trying to do is find their own identity. Everything they're doing is just trying to find some separation from the parents and the cult that they had created. And I once I kind of saw that, I was like, okay, that makes perfect sense. It's just like, Lachlan jerked his brother off. Why? Because he thought his brother wanted to get jerked off. It wasn't
Hmm.
that deep, right?
Right.
Like she wanted to go to the monastery.
And
Why? Because she wanted to escape her crazy
yeah,
family.
and that it totally makes sense now that
Yeah.
I have
Saxon
seen the whole
too.
thing. And
Yep.
yes, Saxon too, even though he's still kind of gross, but he did seem to show a little growth there by the
But
end.
he admitted it.
But
Remember what he said
yeah,
to his dad? My
yeah,
whole identity
yeah,
is this
yeah,
job and you, right?
true. And
Crazy.
but I had not, I had bought into, I mean, before she said that there was no thesis, I fully believed that she had a thesis and that she really wanted to spend a year in Thailand. I was like in
She's a good
there with her.
liar. She learned
And
from the
she was,
best.
she
Well,
she
Learned.
sold it to me.
Yeah.
back when Victoria said like, "Oh, you're judgier than I am" to Piper, I was like, I feel like there might be a bit of truth in that Victoria actually sees. Like just because you're judging people for being, I don't know, too rich or whatever, it doesn't mean you're not judging people still. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Hmm.
So,
That's an interesting concept that it plays with too, because that's such a part of identity. And one of the things that it makes you think about is how some people create their identity as what they are, and some people create their identity as what they're not, right?
mhm,
And
true.
so that is an interesting idea to think about what some of these characters how they were trying to form their identity. And I think when you look at these kids, it is a lot about what they're not. They just don't want to be in the cult of their parents, and they know that. But then Saxon, honestly, I remember I said this, I think last episode ago. After the first episode, I was on the old Facebook in one of these White Lotus club group things, and I want to see what are people thinking of this show. And there was some post about Saxon, and everyone was like, "This guy's holy shit, this is crazy," or "Mike White's fucked up, this is funny," or because he had already jerked off in front of his brother or whatever. And one lady said, "I think that he is going to be the only one who shows any growth in the whole show."
Wow.
And I commented, "You're nuts, lady. You mean the guy, right?" And then I thought about it because I always like to think, whatever, just maybe I'm wrong. You know what I mean? I said, wait, I commented too quickly. And by God, she was right. She really was right. Like he is literally, if you think about it, he's kind of the only person in the whole show that decided to make some kind of positive move forward towards examining himself and where his need for identity or his journey comes from. He's interested in trying to figure it out. And after
And he
all, he did go to Duke,
but
so
he met the most empathetic, sweet person in the world who, when he asked the questions, she was willing to honestly answer him and he was open to listening finally. So that was all
Yeah.
good. And I mean, Chelsea did do a lot to help him. She gave him books and then he had questions and she's like, "You
Yeah.
actually are reading it?" Like,
Yeah.
but like, he would ask questions and she gave him answers and he was really seeking. And so he did definitely show some growth. Oh, there was something else I wanted to say a minute ago, but I lost track of it. So
I
maybe
do
it'll
think
come
he's
back in a few.
distinguished. Yeah, I do think he's distinguished from like Shane and Cameron from the past seasons, right? Because people try to equate them, even just by his age. He's at least
Yeah.
5 to 15 years younger, maybe, than those guys. So I was just thinking back on it. I just feel like you met Shane and you were like, this guy's not really changing. Like maybe a couple tender moments with his new wife. And then Cameron, I was thinking, he kind of makes everyone around him change to be more like him, was
Mhm.
ultimately where that went. So I was kind of happy to see the like douche be the one that like had the most growth potential
Yeah.
this season.
It was interesting. But I think also part of it was the experience with his brother, right?
Yeah.
Like he had to go through something as messed up as that to wake the fuck up and say,
Yeah.
what's the ultimate goal of sexually dominating every woman I meet? Is it because I want to be sexually dominated? What happens when it happens to me? And then the whole identity thing, am I the aggressor? Oh no, I wasn't. I am the thing laying back, taking it, right? So it's very interesting that he chose to do that because it says something about him because some people might not have chosen to do that, right? Some people may have dug down deeper and pushed that away and he kind of tried to face it. And I think Facebook commenting lady, whoever you are out there, you were right. And I've been thinking about it ever since the first episode, watching every episode being like, man, I knew I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was a little kid for some reason. Now look at that son. I hope this kid, I really think he's a really good actor. I
Yeah,
really do.
Same.
You
agreed.
know, and the fact I hope he can play something different because literally his two biggest roles are playing a weird kid from Duke on HBO, right in the staircase and in
Yeah.
this. And he does. I lived in Durham. He looks like a kid that went to Duke. Okay. I mean, it looks like he's on the Duke lacrosse team or some shit, but he's capable of some really good acting. And I hope that in the future he has the opportunity to do that. I hope he does some like indie films, some other, like he tries to stretch what he can do. And he's not just like immediately in the next fucking Marvel movie or something like that. I hope he can kind of keep working on that. But the thing about Lachlan, um, I don't know. When they had their meeting and they finally talked about what happened, his explanation was kind of beautiful, though it was twisted in a sense. He was so young too. But I didn't expect that. I don't know. Did you expect that, Jenny? That he was going to say, I just wanted to please you? Because you had
Well, I
thought,
actually did think
okay.
he was going to say that because I watched the after the episode thing, and that's basically what he said that he was thinking. So, I mean, it was from the prior episode, but that
That's
was what
why I
he
don't
had
watch
said.
those.
So
Yeah,
I was
Yeah.
like, well, that made sense to me. Like he was
yeah,
trying to please because he's a people pleaser, which is
yep.
exactly what he said. And I already knew he was a people pleaser, but no, I mean, that's exactly what he said in this episode. He said, I'm a pleaser. He didn't say I'm a people pleaser, but that is
Isn't
what
that what the
you could
monk
tell
said to
he's
him
like
too?
that. I don't
Remember there
recall.
was, I don't know, it wasn't the monk, it was
The posture therapist.
yes, thank
Oh,
you.
I
That
forgot
was
about that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It was when he went to his little session.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he says, I'm, a pleaser. I just want to give everyone what they want. And I'm in a family of narcissists.
That's the cult, right?
Yeah.
Like that was his way of keeping everything together. I don't know, did that surprise you, Anne, when he said that, or how did you feel about that?
When it was the earlier episode of like the reveal of what had happened and you discover that Lachlan Jark Saxonoff. I admittedly was ready to be like, Lachlan's a predator. Like, I'm done with Lachlan. But then when they showed him remembering it, that seemed more sincere that he was just then remembering it and being kind of like, what the fuck? So I came around, but I just couldn't help noticing he called himself a pleaser and not a people pleaser. It just felt a little bit of like too on the nose.
I'm a pleaser.
Like, I've never heard someone say I'm a pleaser instead of I'm a
pleaser.
people pleaser.
My love language is my brother.
Yeah.
So I remembered the other thing I wanted to say earlier, and it was when you were
good.
talking about Victoria. And I think this is my episode of two things because I have two things again.
All right. Two things with Jenny.
Okay, so these are two nitpicks, kind of. Victoria, remember way back when they were first getting there, and Kate of the trio of ladies meets her and says, oh, I know you. We were at a thing together on the weekend. And remember, we had like come up with some backstory or whatever. Yeah, like nothing ever came of that. Like nothing. So we're left hanging with no resolution there. And the other one was Lori seeing the jewelry in Alexi's apartment, and nothing came of that.
Nothing came of it. I love it.
Except for we saw the Russians partying it up at the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we had been thinking too, did she see it? Did she didn't?
She did. When you could see it looked like she did. It looked like she clocked that shit sitting there.
They totally, there was also an edit in to show us what it was, in a pull-in. So I'm so glad you mentioned the thing when she said we spent a weekend together, because again, on the podcast, sorry, but I'm going to do it. Mike White said that what that was an example of how she just felt like she was above everyone. Like, fuck her. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I spent a weekend with her. I don't even remember her, even though she did.
That was kind of how I took it. But...
So it was just basically a toss-off of showing.
But I did like Gina's idea.
I loved it. I loved it that they had a secret lesbian affair and all this shit. Oh, man.
Right. Yeah.
That would have been well, hey, you know what? It's also quite possible that he did have an idea to do something like that and it just didn't pan out. But I like stuff like that because it's like we talk about.
That's real life.
Yes, thank you. It's
Things
just
aren't
like when
always
people
resolved.
make the wrong choice in a TV or film, and people are like, "No, why would they do that?" Because people are stupid. Look around at the world.
And even like people saying, "I need closure."
Yeah.
There's really no such thing because there's never going to be something. Most of the time, things are never fully resolved. There's always some kind of resentment or something left that didn't get satisfied or whatever. So, I mean, yeah.
Well, I think that's dealing with, and didn't we talk a little bit about how talking like this is like deconstructing in like English class? And if you think about the like story structure and stuff like that, what is it like postmodernist, that there is no point, there is no conclusion, characters do not have a full circle, they don't come to a great resolution, they keep on living. We're looking at a slice in time of their life. Why is it important? Because of what happens at the end. Right? That is what frames our time frame, but it doesn't mean that everything that happens before and after is inconsequential. So those answers come at a time when we're not there. And I kind of like that. You know what I mean? And it also leaves it open for other seasons too. We've seen in this season how he pulled shit out, right? Like I could see some of these characters coming back in a different way, or I don't know, I guess there's certain people have certain favorites, but I kind of think that whether we like it or not, Greg Gary is going to come back again. I think like Mike White's going to be like, fuck you, Belinda's not coming back ever again. Greg Gary is my hero. And he's going to.
Well, we are definitely let down that Rick and Chelsea would be returning, or even just Chelsea. Remember, that was had hoped.
Unless it was earlier in time, which is always a possibility.
True. That is.
I would prefer that to the ghost version people keep talking about.
Well, I don't want a ghost version. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, what are they going to do? Like pottery together or something? Is that what you mean?
No, not the movie Ghost.
Oh,
Like
okay.
people wanted Tanya to come back as a ghost to like
Oh,
haunt
really?
Greg.
Oh, that's
Yes.
funny. Oh my
And it almost
gosh.
seemed like they were
That is
toying with
funny.
that with some of those visions that weren't reality this
Oh
season.
yeah. Yeah, that's
But I would
interesting.
prefer a prequel rather than a ghost
Um,
recurrence.
what was I was thinking about, oh, I should say Andy was in the chat and he said that he didn't like Zion either.
Oh, nice.
So that's three against one. I don't know why. I guess it was the smile, or I have to admit that
Oh, yeah.
I've been around a lot of Zions in my day, like back in New York or stuff. You meet some guy,
He
he's just
knows
like
what
on
his
the
smile
make.
does to people.
Yeah.
Like you could
Yeah.
tell that he like
Hmm.
it's a
Yeah.
very
Uh-huh.
I can't think of the word, but like a performative face
Yeah.
is I guess where
Oh,
I'm going.
definitely. It's something that I would have leaned over and said, you can keep smiling, pal. I'm still not going to agree with you, but you're trying hard. You're a good
Yeah.
salesman. It's like when I walk into Fred Meyer or something, the guy's like, hey, you got a minute to talk about your cell phone? And I was like, not really, pal, but you're doing a good job. That's a good lead out right there. You almost got me. He was good, but just to round back to that, because I want to ask you both. What did you think about Belinda making the choice to go along with this? And then when she pulls the little walkout, and then he's like, "Yeah, mom, you know what you were doing," like trying to hook him. I was at I'm conflicted. You know, I'm conflicted because in one sense, I don't have a problem with it because it seems like she's spent so much of her life dedicated to helping others that maybe it is time that she can take this money, be rich for a little while, but being who she is, she'd probably end up trying to do things where she's connecting with other people and helping people, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then again, if you look at it in this kind of Buddhist parable that we're watching, for her karmic cycle, it's not too good. That's not really the best choice to make.
Mm-mm.
To take this money she knows was from,
Maybe that's why
you
she didn't
know,
take porn chai with her.
her ill. Well, that I think there was a little. That's an interesting idea. Is that she didn't feel pure in it, right? So she
Hmm.
didn't want to bring him into it. And what they had together was something kind of
Sweet and pure.
sweet and pure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got to make a correction to myself real quick. I had said this whole episode was in the one final day, but that was wrong. It was the night before
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
day. So
that's okay.
Yeah.
my bad.
It's okay.
Correcting myself. Go ahead, Anne.
I
I'm
was just
sorry.
gonna say about Belinda. I think it's showing how it's hard to only be like a tiny bit unethical. Like, so once you make one decision, then you kind of
Yeah.
got to amp it up with the next decision, and this whole series kind of follows, right?
Yeah, that's a
Just
great
like
point.
Frank got the gun, and then he's like, now I'm gonna have whiskey, now I'm gonna do crack and spend a whole night like off the wagon. I think it's just one of those like showing how maybe bad decisions beget more bad decisions because you're trying
Yeah,
to, you know, cover it up or whatever. But I
yeah.
agree. I do think she's ultimately going to come back to her more like pure giving place.
Hmm.
But she deserves to try out this new identity for a little bit, and hopefully the bank doesn't flag it and she's just in some mess back home.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
do you what? I'm not like a financial person, but like at some
The
point she's gonna have
threshold
to
is
pay. Oh,
the threshold that keeps people from getting hit, like them looking at it, is only
yeah,
$10,000.
but this is
So
what we know
this
from
is
TV
$5
show.
million.
Yeah, that's gonna get. Yeah,
It's going to
she's
get
gonna have to pay
flagged.
taxes
They're
on
going to
that, right?
Well, for
investigate
sure.
it, where
Yeah.
it came from, etc., to make sure it's not from some illegal venture and that she doesn't need to,
But she'll be okay
yeah,
though
we'll see.
because the U.S. See, you know what? We don't even know.
It
Let
doesn't
let
even
that go.
I don't
matter.
That's
know.
not
It's
even worth talking
TV.
about. Yes, it's television. Because I was going to say like, because remember we were talking about like extradition and everything. I was like, come on, Mike White's fucking laughing at that. He's like, go smoke another bowl, Foley. You can worry about extradition another day. Yeah, I don't know. It just left me feeling a little bit. That's why I liked this That's why in the end I like that Rick made that choice. I like that some of these people didn't grow, that they're caught in this identity and they cannot get out of it, you know? And it's so hard to push past it. I just, you
The
know,
trio, the trio did get a little
did
distance.
they
They did
though? Because
not
this is,
fully
let's talk
reform.
about
No,
the
no, no.
trio.
Let me say
Yeah.
they broke through their superficiality a little bit at the end. Now, I don't think that they're going to go home and like be super close again like they were when
Right,
they were
right.
children or anything like that. But they did like crack the shell of the superficiality they were living under. But
True.
I don't know how long that will last, if they'll start having yearly vacations together or anything like that. I could see it going either way.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Ann?
I really liked what Lori said because I think, talking about identity as a prison, I feel like she's the only person that really transcended identity by saying, like, what makes my life meaningful is just the time that I've spent living it. Like, not
Mhm.
that I'm a mother or a lawyer or a wife, like any of that stuff. So I liked that.
Yeah.
And I don't think she expects more depth from her friends than they're capable of giving. So I don't think they necessarily grew with her in that moment, but she's like, I'm just happy to be with you, basically.
Yeah.
That's how I
I
took it.
yeah, I don't know. I was a little bit kind of torn on that too because I didn't know how much I bought it, or I didn't know if it was like they end every trip like this. You know what I mean? Like at the
Yeah.
end, she's always the one who like I think we talked about this too, where she's always the one who's like, "Oh guys, my life isn't great, but I'm just happy to be with you. I mean, I just love
Hmm.
you all. You're wonderful." You know, but then she goes away and a couple days later she's like, she fucked that guy. Come on. And then I had to go
Yeah.
fuck the other guy because of it, you know? So
I don't
it
know.
it
Based
doesn't,
on
but
myself, I can just say my own opinions as a
yeah,
middle-aged woman, and that's just that I think that they made a little
I
distance, but I
agree. No,
don't
no,
think
I
it's going to
agree.
stay. I
Yeah.
don't think it was anything major. I don't think it's like going to have major lasting unless they continue to work on things.
Yeah.
And I doubt that they will.
But but it's important. I might doubt they will too. But I think that it does speak to something about like they had that moment. And is that moment any less valuable because it doesn't last longer or because it doesn't have some kind of fruition to it? Or is it that they had this time together, they were able to connect for that moment, and then they move away from each other? But it's that ability to connect for that little bit of time that brings them back to each other again and again, you know, and their past history. I mean, we had talked about it, Jenny, right? Like we all have old friends, and I'm sure
Hmm.
you have it. You get back
Yeah.
together with them, and you're like, oh, I love them. And then you're like, these motherfuckers. It's the same shit for 20 years. I'm
Totally.
sick of them, you know, but you
Totally.
love them too. So I think it
Yeah.
was true, Jenny. You're absolutely right. It was a true moment. And I don't know. I just love Carrie Coon. She's just so awesome. She's great in
Yeah.
everything she does.
I can't
She,
wait for Gilded Age to come back.
yeah, she's
I
great.
was just going to piggyback. I didn't see it as much as a moment for the three of them. I just saw it as her moment for herself.
Hmm,
And maybe that's why I appreciated it without
I like
worrying,
that. Yeah.
because Jacqueline had just been lying. I've been in the best mood all week. Like, no, you haven't.
Right.
You've
Right. They
been like,
both lied.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't expect much more from them. But I
Yeah.
think for her, maybe they were honest enough with her. She was honest with herself. She kind of has some realizations to take home with her.
Yeah.
Um, and she'll still be friends with them no matter, the
And
shit they pull, I
In my
suppose.
notes with their talking, I was like, nothing makes me feel more grounded than being with friends, real friends, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
Lori doesn't really have any
Totally.
superficial smoke to blow up their asses. So,
Yeah, and I feel like Kate's reaction was kind of like a motherly, like, I want to support you. I don't really know what you're saying, but like I'm here for
yes.
you kind of
Yeah.
thing.
right, right.
She remained in her identity, you know. She
Mm-hmm.
and there
Good.
wasn't but that's okay too, right? Like I say, not everyone has this great growth. Yeah, Jacqueline that was totally turning it on at the end, right? When she was like,
Yeah.
ah. And then I like when Carrie Coon says to her, I like that you have a pretty face,
Yeah.
right? And meanwhile, I'm sitting,
Implying that, yeah, go ahead.
thank you. That's what I'm like, Carrie, you're better looking than her. What the fuck are you
No,
talking about?
that
You're
too.
Glad you have a
gorgeous.
beautiful place, and I'm
Like, I
glad
mean,
you have a
but it
beautiful
just
life.
shows the identity, right? Because she was kind
Right.
of, she knew that
The
that's where
face.
she takes her identity from.
Right.
Now, I have one issue with the uh, three ladies, okay? Which is, and this is maybe nitpicky, but I have to bring it up because I did read someone else thought this same thing, which is, were they not standing right there? It was right, they were like just a little bit far away when Rick shot
Dude,
fucking
did you not
Jim.
get the picture I sent you
And
yesterday? It was
yeah,
a screen.
but
They were literally right there, and
yes,
Carrie
that's
Coon
Yeah.
what I'm
sprinted
saying.
away.
What I'm saying is they were there,
Mhm.
then Rick gets shot. They were there for the whole thing. But I would have liked to seen one scene in which they were shocked or crying or holding each other or like, what the fuck? We just saw a man murdered in front of us.
Mhm.
But the last time we see them, they're kind of like on the boat and they're like, oh, hey, we had a great vacation. And it was just a
Everybody was
little
acting
weird.
like things were normal on the
Yes,
boat,
it
which I
was
thought was a
weird.
little odd because
Okay,
they
I
had all had
thank you.
interactions with Rick and Chelsea.
I know. I actually thought though on the boat, it looked like Lori was comforting Jacqueline, which
Okay.
sounded right that Jacqueline would make the trauma all hers, even
Oh,
though
of
they were
course.
also there. But
I
I remember
should pay
when I
more
watched it,
attention.
it looks like Carrie Coon was comforting her,
Okay,
which just kind of was
okay.
saying, I don't think those two had changed that much other than Lori
Yeah.
possibly.
But
Yeah.
I also thank you for that, and thank you for the screenshot, Jenny. Um,
It was
but
so funny because I had paused it to write something in my notes, and when I looked over at the TV,
they're all
here's Carrie Coon sprinted all the way on the right side of the screen, and the rest of them all the way on the left side of the screen, and the two other women like going different directions. It was hilarious. It
it,
was very funny.
yeah, because I remember in other seasons they have that, right? Like this is the third time we've seen it's like the slow motion, and usually all the other characters are like, oh my God, you know? But I
Mhm.
thought to myself too, because I always have to try to interpret it, is it some commentary on gun violence and about how, like, as Americans, every day we're like, oh, I guess another kid murdered other kids, you know, time to go make breakfast. So it's like it doesn't shock them, right? And I like what you said, Anne, is that actually what it turns into is an opportunity for someone to put the light on themselves because they're
Mhm.
in pain over it, right?
Mhm.
Instead of the
Yes.
actual event or any,
Yeah.
like helping or anything. So
Yeah.
I thought that makes that kind of, I don't know. It just was something for me because I was fucking shocked, and I'm a person in general that I'm very conscious about violence and gun violence. And even like when I watch movies and then the good guys going down a street and that like 20 pedestrians just got mowed down because of it, I'm always like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be cheering still for this person? Like, I just don't take violence lightly in
Mhm.
any form. So that kind of surprised me that there wasn't like a, what do they call it, denouement, like of where they're just like, oh, we're sad about the violence that just occurred. We see their bodies going into the airplane though, which
Yeah.
was kind of funny in a way though too, because you're like, oh shit, they have to ride home with them. Like the
Right.
Ratliffs are in that plane, and you know
I
what
was
I
the most
mean?
surprised. Like, wouldn't Saxon have cared about Chelsea
That's
passing?
what I
That's
Are we
thought.
supposed to think
Yeah,
they don't
I know.
know? Like,
I can't
I
imagine
was the
that
did
they
not
hotel
didn't
staff
know.
because
really
how could they
stealthy?
not
Yeah.
have heard? Because like Guy Talk, where he was in his little shack, he you could just barely hear the pop
Yeah,
pop. So he
good
was pretty
job, Jenny.
distant
Yeah,
from where they were. So they would have definitely heard it. But I did write in my
yeah,
notes, and
that's
this was
true.
mostly for you, Axel. I
Thank you.
wrote, Guy Talk hears the distant shots, opens the lockbox, and retrieves the gun. Guy Talk does his best impression of Tom Cruise as he runs towards the sound of gunfire.
You know, Tom, oh God, I'm obsessed with Tom Cruise running. He is the best
I know you
runner
are.
in the history of film. And
You know what's
actually,
But he
funny?
did kind of look like Tom Cruise.
he
He
did.
was running the way that Tom Cruise runs.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of funny. Anyway.
When we sat down to watch the finale, it was 8, so we had an hour. Like, what should we watch for this hour? We put on the new Top Gun because we just wanted something we didn't care about, and the like juxtaposition between such a like cheesy, gives you everything you want movie, and then White Lotus when you're like, what the fuck just happened? It was just really funny.
It is. It is funny. Oh gosh, I can't imagine that.
2 Tom Cruise references. Look, we
I
have
was
2
gonna
again.
say we got a third here because when they were filming Severance, another show that we covered, what's his name? Adam Scott said that he watched Tom Cruise run to mimic his running after Tom Cruise. And he does the thing where his
Yeah.
arms are like really,
That's what Guy
and
Talk
he
was doing
runs like
too.
that. Yeah, it's great. Oh man, it's great. Anyway, let's talk about we kind of glossed over that, right? Which is we had discussed obviously Mook took a heel turn at the wrestling match or whatever. I mean, the Kung Fu Thai match, which by the way,
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai. Heath Solo, our other podcaster here, Heath, turned me on to the soundtrack that a lot of these songs come from that are in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to find the album that because I just recently added it. Oh gosh, I don't know how this do I have recent edit. Yes. Thai Beat a Go Go Volume 3.
Hmm.
And it has many volumes, and it has a song called Thai Boxing, and it was in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been rocking out to this stuff in the car with my son, and it is really good music. And I was right. A lot of those songs are American songs remade, but the lyrics are changed. So it's like the same song, but the lyrics and it's slightly different when they're singing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Sunshine Day and all this other kind, and they actually sometimes they call it a different title too, but it's great stuff. But anyway, Mook turns out to only want a guy, it's funny because the most MAGA mom here is Mook, right? Like she would fit in perfect in America. She's on Facebook. She's like, I'm 90s tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, my kids are 90s tough. It was really tough in the 90s. Trust me, Ann, it wasn't. I'm guessing that you were very young in the 90s. Yes.
I was alive.
Okay. Oh, really? Surprised.
Yeah.
Anyway, she wants him to
became an
commit
adult.
this. Yeah, she wants to commit this violence. She wants him to commit this violence, to get this job, to want more. And the dude ends up, they have a great conversation in the guard area where he's like, he explains to her, right? Like, I try to be like the Buddha. I don't, and then you see her face, she's like, come on. And then he ends up shooting Rick in the back, not once, but twice. Like goes for the
Well,
kill
as I
shot.
pointed out, that little tiny freaking gun, it didn't even penetrate his full body because he only had the shots on his back. They didn't even show any blood on the front of him. He had to shoot him twice or he wouldn't have died.
I thought he was going to make it at first. He just shot him in the shoulder, but then she's
Mm.
like, "Kill, shoot him, kill him," and
Mm.
and it's like, I don't know. This is a weird thing, but it's almost as like she was like an older Mook in some way that he wanted, right, to be, and then with the success, and then he does it, and I was very disappointed in Guy Talk. Very
Mm-hmm.
disappointed in Guy Talk. But
Same.
I kind of love that that's how it ended though, too. I don't know.
It
It
felt
was sad.
inevitable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
I don't
did,
know.
didn't it?
The Mook mentality reminded me of the Sam Rockwell monologue. Like I almost wanted to be like, if you want someone really aggressive and like, just be it yourself. Like, why are you forcing this sweet guy to change? Either be it yourself or choose
Yeah.
someone else, you know?
Hmm.
It was frustrating, but it's, you
Yes.
know,
That
everyone has their blinders. He obviously had his blinders on for her, and who wouldn't, because she's beautiful. But
And
I
that,
was just thought of that. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Finish what you were going to say.
Oh no, just for me it related, and I know this wasn't what Mike White was intending, but to me it related to the like, are we choosing someone because they have qualities we wish that we had ourselves, and like why not develop those yourself if that's
No,
really
that's
what's
exactly
important? And
what he meant,
yeah,
Anne. I think
yeah,
that's
okay.
exact. I think you hit. He actually said that in the freaking podcast.
But
That
his
that's
Oh, I
so
boss,
think that
his
much.
boss
yeah,
was
Yeah.
yeah.
also pushing him to
I
do
know
it
his
because
boss didn't let
when
him
he tried
quit.
to quit, he's like, "Think about this. We can talk later."
Yeah.
And it's like, why is everybody pushing him to be something he's not? Sad.
And why is he letting them, I suppose?
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
interesting,
think
right?
he's weak-willed.
Well, we project identity onto others as well, right? And
Yeah.
I think that that was people projecting that onto him, or also, there's something to be said that some people actually find it uncomfortable when they're around good people. They want to drag them down. They think, oh, you're holier than thou, guy talk. Oh,
Mm,
you're like the Buddha. No, you're not. You're just a punk like me. You're not better
mm.
than me. You're going to go shoot that motherfucker. And then he ended up doing it. And then he got the glasses and he looked pretty good sitting behind that car, right?
He's handsome.
Yeah.
Well,
And then he
Rick took
got the
out both the
girl.
freaking bodyguards, long hair
I
and
know
no
Rick did him
hair.
a favor ultimately.
That is the thing that made me kind of crack up when we saw. I was like, wait a sec. I was like, oh shit, the guards are dead. Like he gets the job
He got
right.
both
That
of them, yeah.
Yeah,
Could have
that was
solved all the
nuts.
problems. Rick could have just become the bodyguard for his dad and stepmom
Yeah.
Yeah,
and been a better one than they
yeah.
were.
Oh, what a sad story to kill your own father because you're so angry. And he did. He became that person, right? Like, because Jim did kill his father, right? And then he killed his father, and it's just fucked up. What Mike White was saying is about the Sam Rockwell monologue, where he was saying that he wanted to become the little Asian girl, right?
Mhm.
And he said that Mike White said that he went on a trip to Japan with an actor who was straight, and he was like, I won't mention him, but we can probably look it up and find out who it was. And he was like obsessed with trying to have sex with little Japanese girls. And then Mike White was thinking, well, he's bisexual. I think right now he's married to a man, or he's in a long-term relationship with a man. And he said, well, I when I want to have sex, or what I desire is something that looks like me, not something that's the opposite. I'm not trying to fill the second half, right? Because traditionally, men and
Mm-hmm.
women, right? The old hetero thing is like the the man and the woman become the one thing. Well, what happens when it's a man and a man and a woman and a woman? Are you really just desiring to have sex with yourself? Or he was said it was just kind of something that he himself had contemplated, and it was more of a and I think that worked because we even talked about that on the podcast. I think I brought up that he was bisexual, and maybe he's trying to examine, and like with Lachlan too,
Mm-hmm.
examine that, uh how sexuality can be sometimes so confusing, and how what you desire cannot always be good for you, right? Or you don't even understand why you desire it.
Mm-hmm.
I find that to be really interesting. And with Mook, you're right. It's like, why does she want it? Why does she have to turn him into a violent beast? Maybe she just needs to do it herself, right? Lift herself up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess people kind of do that in relationships too, though, don't they?
Yes.
We tend to do that to each other, you know? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what it is, as long as there's a human involved, we're trying to control or manipulate, or we're projecting, or we're
Validating through someone
exactly.
else. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very interesting stuff. But gosh, I'm still sad about Guy Talk. Come on, buddy. I wonder what he's doing today. I wonder if he's still with Mook. I don't
Yeah, well,
know.
in the interview, Mike White said he thought they were happy and together
Yeah, that's
and
right. He did.
bodyguarding. So,
Bodyguarding.
Yeah, but mm,
yeah, no, I put in quotes like Guy Talk is someone who kind of sacrificed their identity and won quotes question mark, kind of the
Yeah,
same with
yeah,
agreed.
Belinda.
yeah.
Yeah.
He moved forward. But see, that's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because having done a fair bit of reading about Buddhism, one of the most interesting things is the neutrality. Yeah, I mean, what is who or what is judging this karmic wheel or something? And that's a debate within its own religion and different offshoots of it, right? If you do something bad or good, does it come back at you, And with this, I don't know. It's the same thing with like Belinda. Maybe sometimes it's just that kind of moving forward as a person, right? Making some sort of choice
Hmm.
that makes you feel like you have control over your life. And then you just have to see where it goes. And he also talked about the fact that sometimes to get ahead, you do have to step on someone. You do have to be aggressive. You have to move forward with purpose. And that can
Hmm.
oftentimes feel as though you're shooting someone in the back or hurting someone. I go through this with my son with playing basketball, trying to teach him as a big man, when you're down low, it's okay to give someone an elbow. It's okay to
Yeah.
stick your ass into their chest and push them back, You're there
Hmm.
to be aggressive, right? That's part of the game. But is that part of the game of life? I don't know. These are deep thoughts with our podcast network.
Well, that's why I ultimately love the show and even the finale because you're still thinking about it, days, weeks after. And I think that's the point.
Totally.
We haven't
Most
talked at
deaf.
all about Tim and the unaliving seeds.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Okay.
oh my God, wait, can I tell one funny thing? Do you see
Yes, please.
the Coffee Mate product?
Uh-uh.
So Coffee
Oh,
Mate did a brand collaboration to do White Lotus Pina Colada Creamer,
yeah.
but they released it earlier without knowing how the show was going to turn. And so they put on Instagram or somewhere like, well, this is awkward, like after the finale aired.
Yeah, our good friend Bill Cava
That's
posted a picture of that
hilarious.
on our Facebook
Oh,
page.
Yeah.
They have Thai iced coffee and pina colada,
that's
the
Yeah,
White
hilarious.
specifically the
Lotus.
Pina Colada.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
so
my
funny.
gosh. I think that was handled. That was fun, right? That was like classic mystery or what TV tropes where I mean they even zoomed in on the blender as he walked out of the room at the end after he takes it away from them all. I don't know what did you have to say about that, Anne? Or who
It
brought
was
it
one
up,
of those
Jenny? I don't
things.
remember.
Sorry, what was that?
I don't remember
No,
who brought it up.
Oh,
I brought
I
it
just
up,
mentioned.
but Anna
Oh,
can go first
Oh, okay.
okay.
because
Then I'll toss to you. It was one of those things where you're like, this isn't really going to happen, right? It's not really going to happen. But then they have the glasses in front of them and then they start taking sips. So even though you thought it wasn't going to be that all four of them drink this and then just peacefully pass, um, it was a relief still. The way they built it
Yeah.
up when he slapped it out, I was like, okay. And even then I was like, well, is Victoria going to still drink it? There was some mystery to it.
what
And
was
Victoria,
funny was their faces.
oh yeah, like it
It's
ended up
like,
just feeling goofy, the darkest storyline of the whole
yes,
series,
yes,
really.
It was.
Yeah.
yes.
I
Because it's
loved it.
like you see Saxon and he makes kind of
Hmm.
a face and Piper does too, just a little bit. But Victoria, it's like she takes a sip, considers it, just starts drinking it.
I was
It's
thinking to
freaking
myself, like,
hilarious.
how much does it take? Like, are they
Right, right,
all gonna,
right.
Right.
like, are they gonna be kind of
And then
half dead
he's
or?
standing there watching them, and he didn't take a drink. He puts his hand on Saxon's shoulder, stands there for another second. Saxon's about to take another drink, and then he slaps it out of his hand, and it's like, dude. I mean, not that I wanted him to unalive his whole family, but minus one. But it was the most comic part of this whole
Yeah.
episode, actually.
And it was, of course, I think everyone was thinking as soon as he said, he kind of took the temperature of the whole family. And then the dissatisfaction and kind of depression he felt when Piper was like, I need air conditioning. At first I was thinking like,
The
oh,
poop
he's
wasn't
upset.
organic.
Yeah, I thought like, oh, he's upset because the monk really touched him and he's changing. But no, he was upset because he's like, damn, now I got to kill her too. Like he was just, okay, Saxon can't, okay, I can kill him, I can kill him, I can kill the wife. I'm not going to kill Lachlan. And then everyone watching it is like, Lachlan's the only one that's going to end up drinking
Yeah,
this
exactly.
concoction, which is, of course, what
Exactly.
happens.
Right,
I
because
thought
he
it
left
was,
the damn dirty blender sitting there.
yes.
Why?
And
Why?
then I think Vogue had a thing I sent you where it was
Yeah.
like, you should die from drinking out of a
Yeah.
dirty blender.
Yeah.
Um, it was, but I just thought that it was, yes, it was predictable. It was kind of a trope. The zooming into it was all on purpose. It was playing with us. It was a nod, a wink. People who are writing shows, I think, of this level understand that the audience is like us. They know people are doing podcasts on it. They know
Yeah.
people are breaking it down. He knows people are going to laugh at that and be waiting the whole time. He had this whole thing, I put it on our Facebook page, when he said on the podcast, he was like, I'm edging you. For those, I don't need to get into that. Hopefully people understand what that is. And like, get out of the bed if you don't like it. And this is the way I felt, where a couple episodes ago I was like, there are certain people who don't like stuff like that or kind of didn't get this season, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a different aesthetic. And if you're not into that, it is going to be frustrating to you. You are going to find it annoying that this isn't happening. But for other people, me included, I find it ultimately satisfying because I like that feeling of him kind of playing with us and throwing and like the tsunami and like all this kind of, oh, but what did it lead to, right? Like, it's interesting to me. So in the end, I found the blender stuff to be wonderful. And I was so happy that Lachlan woke up at the end too, because, the poor kid, he just wants everyone to be happy, you know? Just
This
don't
is
come in
true.
the bedroom with me,
This is
Lachlan.
true.
Good. I'm happy. That's my son's name, by the way.
Yes.
I know, I'm good.
Tough season.
It's a tough one. But it's O. Anyway, anything else about the whole blender? And I mean, the way they shot it and everything, like you said, the water, and then at the end when when Timmy turns to his family when they get their phones back and he says, things are going to change, but we're a family. We're going to work through this, right? Like, we're going to get through this. But he's watching the water go up and down before he says that. And I thought that that was kind of cool too. That whole thing.
The hymn that
Beautiful.
they play at the end do you
Oh,
know, was that the same one that he was singing when he was high on lorazepam and talking to Piper in one of the
not
earlier
sure.
episodes? What he was
I
talking about being an altar boy.
Yeah,
I
I
wrote,
remember. I remember. I'm
Mhm.
not sure, but I'm almost certain that it is. I don't see why it would. It's the perfect thing to play right then and there, isn't it, Jenny? Like,
I would, yeah.
yeah, I would assume that that is exactly what it is. And I was happy with that ending, Like, I, I kind of, it was weird because it's like my wife said a couple episodes ago. She was like, he really loves his family. That is part of him. They may have created this cult. It might not be the best dude in the world and the best mom and kids, but he really did love his family and need his family. And I think that, if you love him enough to kill him, I mean, what more way to say I love you?
I guess I didn't feel that way about him. Mainly,
I love that you didn't.
I'm sorry.
That's
Mainly
good.
because if he should have had his children's whole lives to have developed a relationship with them
You are
and
so
kind of
right.
know who they are as people. And
Yes,
instead, it's like
I
the one
totally
sentence they
agree.
say on this week determines if he's gonna let them live or not. And it's like Lachlan just kind of got lucky as a pleaser that
Yeah.
he's like, well, I'll answer sure. Like, what? This sounds like the right answer to your question, Like it didn't actually mean that's
Yes.
how Lachlan feels. So to just take his family down to the one sentence they said on vacation, I ultimately didn't have sympathy for him. Like I think people felt it in the beginning, including myself, but by the end, I did not.
Yeah.
I do think he loved
Now
his
I feel bad
family,
for my
but
wife.
I
No,
agree
sorry.
with what you said, Anne. I do think he loved his family a lot, but I
I got
think
caught
that
in a
he got
dad moment,
himself in the
okay?
hot water.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
And
and as parents, right, we interpret things
We do.
either because
We
we want to
do.
separate
Yeah.
ourselves from that parent or
Yeah.
align with that parent. And
and
so
the
I'm trying
thing
to
is,
separate myself.
he made choices. He made choices to
Yeah.
take these criminal
Of
actions,
course.
and he also made choices to not know his children.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
how did both of them not know that she actually did not have a thesis? Shouldn't they have had no? She's still living at home, right? That's what my assumption. So,
Yeah. They're not
like,
interested in who they are. They're interested in who they
exactly,
want them to be.
exactly.
Completely. I mean,
Hmm.
it's
That is
I
exactly
feel
it.
it's like
Their identities are their children's. They have imprinted their own identities upon their
yeah.
children and expect them to behave accordingly.
It reminds me of gosh, I used to say the same thing about Khaleesi in Game of Thrones and her dragons. What are you going to make your children go to war all the time? Like make them happy. She didn't spend any time trying to love those dragons. All she wanted them to do was kill motherfuckers and get big and eat goats. What kind of
Well,
mother is
that's
that?
why I think Victoria was so happy when Piper admitted she was spoiled because she's like, I know how to mother a spoiled kid. Let's go shopping. Like
Mm-hmm.
she knew how to
Yeah.
mother that version of Piper, not the I'm exploring Buddhism. Like she didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah. And she was right. That's
Yeah.
gosh. She was right. That's awesome. All right. We talked about the rat lifts, talked about is there anything that we didn't talk so much about? There was not like a huge kind of ending for Greg, Gary, Zoe. I mean, I guess
Chloe.
Chloe. Okay, I called her Zoe. I'm sorry, Chloe. I apologize if I did that the whole episode. You don't
You
need
only
to.
said it a couple times, so I didn't
Okay.
correct you earlier.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it. You know what it is? Let me tell you. You know this, Jenny. I hate that Chloe, Zoe, Chloe, Zoe. It fucks me up. I don't know why I find it hard. I always want it when I see Zoe, Zoe should have a Y and Chloe,
Oh,
right?
sometimes it
Like,
does.
Sometimes
yeah.
it
So
does.
when I see Zoe, I think Zoe and I think Chloe, not Chloe.
I want to mess with you and say
Dude,
it's
I
one of my
feel like
kids' names, but it's not.
I, my
That would
one
have
of
been
my
awesome.
sisters had a stepdaughter named Chloe once upon a time, but
I'll figure it out.
I do think that like they're French and German maybe, and maybe that's why, but I
Oh,
don't the names, I mean like
well,
that's where they started, and so that's
interesting.
why they were pronounced that way, but yes,
I
I
hmm,
get where you're coming from.
the German in me did not recognize it. But I think
Well, I
that
think
they
that Zoe a lot of times will have, well, not a lot of times, sometimes we'll have like an umlaut or like the two dots thingy
yeah, is that an
over.
accent aigu? I just like saying that. I took French when I was in middle school. Anyway,
Eh,
Greg, Gary, and Chloe, not Zoe, not much of a resolution. He gives the money. He seems to think he's going to be safe, and he's eyeing some hot young dude that's with
mm-hmm.
her. They've kind of found, in a sense, there was growth there, right? He admitted his proclivities to her, he trusted her. She, in turn, did not judge him. She wanted to please him and make this situation amiable for the both of them. So
And he
she
also
did.
didn't kill Belinda.
He didn't kill Belinda, which
Gross.
what would he have done though? Do we think does he have anybody left to kill? I mean, what I don't know that he would have though. Because
I
even the
just
thing
figured he would hire somebody.
but
Yeah.
even the thing with Tanya was so haphazard and it was like his ex-boyfriend that did it, right? So it was not like he hired professional killers.
Right.
Right, and they like gave her a good time before.
They gave her a
They could have
great
gone out on the
time.
boat once.
It was like the worst trying to kill someone job that ever happened that whole season, right? Like
Mhm.
they kept stringing along, and then the guy and Albie and everything. It didn't make any sense. It didn't work out at all. It was a total failure. So that's why I never felt. I have to say, I guess I'm realizing now. I guess I never felt that Belinda was in real danger, because I didn't see Greg Gary as anything but a grifter, incapable of actually pulling off something like taking her out. And I think he was impressed, and I think he also was intimidated by Zion and his energy and who he was.
I was most concerned because when they come back from the boat and he's asking Chloe if she slept with someone, then he says to her, I got to deal with something and I need your help. Like I thought that was setting up a scheme to either take
Yeah.
down like the rat lifts for money or to take out Belinda. So ultimately, I guess that was a red herring, or he was just talking about sexually, I need your help today. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Agreed.
It made me on edge, that statement.
Well, I think we had theorized something of that nature earlier. I think that, yeah, I think that was a red herring put out there that maybe they are grifters together,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
And I
That
hoped
she,
for more for Chloe.
yeah,
Not that grifting is more, but more of like a Quentin role. Like, oh, you find out there's something else going on with her.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the end, when we
Um,
come to the conclusion of her storyline, it's just with Greg Gary and their relationship, really. But that's kind of interesting in a way too, because you're kind of left with this guy who is really like the antagonist of the show, being kind of happy for him that he gets to live out his sexual fantasies with a hot young girl. Like, good, go, you go, Greg Gary. She's happy. She seems happy too,
She does. She looks happy.
right?
yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know if I'll
She's,
be happy for Greg Gary, but
all right,
yeah,
well.
he's very good at sitting there looking a bit scary. So that was a
you are
fun,
correct.
yeah. So I did
What,
enjoy those shots.
who was he? Uncle Rico in Napoleon
Yeah,
Dynamite?
yeah.
You remember that, Jenny? Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes, I forgot that he was
Yeah,
in that. Oh my goodness.
back in the
Yes.
day. All right, cool. Wow, we've been chatting along. This is going fantastic. Is there anything we missed? Is there someone we didn't talk about, or not?
I
We
was
didn't get to see much
scrolling.
of. There's no real end of Fabian. He got to sing, I guess.
Yeah.
He fell in the water.
Yeah, fell in the water. I don't know. But Anne, anything else you wanted to bring up, or any thoughts you have?
I'm just thinking. Oh, just to mention, it was interesting that three women cry at the restaurant in the final episode, but all for very different reasons. I just thought it was an interesting parallel. Like Piper's crying because she's like, I'm spoiled. Lori's crying to say, I'm so grateful. And Chelsea's crying just like, please don't do something stupid. It just
Yes.
was an interesting parallel in those
Hmm.
final like dining
Hmm.
scenes that I
Hmm.
noticed. Um,
I like
And
that.
she carried her donut with her when she left.
Oh, I was actually the one thing I'm most mad about, other than Chelsea's, just ugh, is she didn't get to say anything.
I
Normally, if
know.
someone's shot, they get to maybe get a few words out. Maybe she could have said, like, go live your life, something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
for her to not get to any voice in those final moments, I hated. So that's my one big
Well,
critique.
yeah. I guess Rick silenced her in the end.
And I
Yeah.
wasn't
Like,
surprised that they wound up dead, but I was sad.
yeah,
And I have to admit that my prediction of Victoria winding up dead did not come true.
that's okay. I don't think anyone could have predicted exactly how things played out. And this is not a show, right? It's not really a murder mystery.
Right.
It's part of the show, but it's a drama. It's soapy. It's fun. And this has been an amazing season of covering this. This has been so much fun. We're hoping that when Gina returns, we will get to have another episode where she gets to speak about her feelings for the last couple episodes, and perhaps we'll talk a little bit about this season as a whole. She'll also be starting her Handmaid's Tale podcast a little bit late, and Resisting Gilead, which is in the show notes, but that did drop last night, so that's interesting too for the folks out there. But I don't know. I think that's it for me. Jenny, anything else? Nope, we
I don't have
good?
anything else. No, I looked through the notes and I didn't see anything else that we missed.
Awesome. Well, there is one other thing that I wanted to do before we go, which is we did get a bunch of, I said, we hope you enjoyed your stay on our Facebook. Tell us what you thought. John Wambacher, wow, that was a roller coaster. While some of it you could see coming from the beginning, it still entertained the hell out of me. I think it's my favorite season. Very disappointed in Belinda and Guy talk. A story about bad choices and the Ratliff somehow navigating it. Michelle says, wow, this season seemed more suspenseful and without too much action each episode, which I think added to the wild ride of the last episode. I think it could be my favorite season. It was super clever. Meanings around every corner. Just when you think you figured it out, you haven't. Oh, look, Gina says, well, I haven't watched it yet and won't get to until I'm back. I read a summary and it seems like a disappointing end. At which point I said, Gina, don't read a summary.
Yeah.
You gotta watch the episode. Holy cow, Gina. That was the most shocking part of this whole season. Um,
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised because she's in Europe.
yeah, I know.
So,
She couldn't wait.
yeah.
Andrea says, I was bummed to see Gary Gregg still going strong. Yeah, you're not the only one. Kimberly said, I called it pretty close. I love this season. Mike White is a genius. I agree. Fran says, I assumed immediately that Lockie would be the one who died, and I was waiting for one person to die, not five, and the boat didn't blow up as the last two people left the island. Okay. Richard says, great show. Thought a bunch of endings were predicted by a lot and on the podcast. Wonder if Scott Glenn didn't tell Rick he was his dad because he didn't want to give him any money. Otherwise, the whole thing could have been avoided. Also wonder if the Greg Gary story is over. If not, I wonder how or why he'd leave Thailand. Well, that would be for another season perhaps, but I think Scott Glenn not telling him, maybe it was because he didn't want him trying to take his money or he left that life
Rick
behind
didn't seem to
or
be hurting for money.
yeah, you're right. He was at the hotel. That's a pretty
True.
expensive hotel. But maybe, but guys like that might think I have more money. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Any thoughts of why he didn't tell him?
I don't know. He seemed like a douche, so
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's funny because he seems to not care about their familial relation, but then once Rick kills him, his wife's like, "That's your father." And it's like, well,
Yeah.
he didn't care when he just saw me. He showed me the gun that he ended up using to kill. Like, if he hadn't shown that
right,
gun, Rick
right.
wouldn't have had a gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Insulted
That's
his
so
mother
true.
and his father,
Well,
which
yeah, the insults
like
to
he
his
was
mother,
insulting
too.
himself, but Rick didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know what? It makes me think, and that it's kind of like I don't know, kind of like a mirror with the Ratliffs, you
Hmm.
know, where with Saxon and him allowing their children to be themselves or to recognize their identity or see them in some way. He, you know, he just, I don't know, the whole thing is messed up. I think in the end, he just really was not a very nice guy. You know, he was just not a good dude. And maybe that's why the mom said he killed your father. Like the man she knew, who he
Mm.
became, was a different
Mm-hmm.
man,
Mm-hmm.
right? And perhaps
Yeah.
the man she knew was a good man. And
Mm-hmm.
and like she said, but then he became this guy who he is now, which maybe is like an origin story of guy talk. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe in some way, right? Like he was this good guy and then he became
Mm.
this guy by taking things away from other people and hurting them to get to the top. Very interesting. All right. Well, we could go on forever. This has been fantastic. Thank you, Jenny, so much. And what did you think? Your first podcast here, talking with other people and on everything. How do you
Oh,
feel?
I love it. And I wanted to say thank you to both of you because I found you because when I watch these shows, all I want to do is listen to people talk about it. So I literally have listened to hours and I just love it. And I think it's really important work that a lot of people appreciate. So I just want to say thank you.
Cool.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, thank you for listening. Thanks for emailing. Hopefully this isn't the last time we chat. I
Yeah, I'm
mean,
around.
you were fantastic. I don't think
Oh,
anyone would have been able to tell this is the first time you did this at all. You were great.
thank you.
Right?
Thank
You made
you. You
great
made it easy.
points. Got in there. That was awesome. All right. Well,
A
thanks
lot of
everybody.
thoughts.
Check us out at dvrpodcast.com. And once again, if you liked listening to us this season, subscribe to Daily DVR, go to DVR Podcast, become a patron at patreon.com/DVR. Helps keeps the lights on, the website running, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it'll even get us to have our YouTube looking better. Who knows?
Yeah,
I might get some kind of light that shines on my face while I'm sitting here. It could happen,
I do have that.
folks. Could happen. Thanks again, everybody. Here, I'm going to do my my double turn off where I stop the podcast and the YouTube at the same time.